Welcome to our beautiful city of San Antonio. So happy that you have come. Now, before I show you some things, I want for us to think about the Social Progress Index. This was inspired by some Nobel Prize winning economists, and it tries to look at quality of life for the common people in a country. It considers 50 metrics, including health, education, the environment, general qualities of well-being. Here in our city of San Antonio, unfortunately, of the 25 largest cities, we have the greatest number of people living in poverty. And secondly, we are one of the most economically segregated cities. I began my ministry here in San Antonio at Incarnate Word High School. I was teaching art and drama. I am delighted that our graduate, Adriana Garcia, whom you see has become such a fine artist. Her mural, From All Roads We Are All One, on the history of our city, was honored as one of the 10 best public art pieces in the United States. I got to know Adriana's art in our zip code, which is the most disadvantaged in our city. I was touched by her mural, Brighter Days. The mural was created for a health clinic. We need brighter days in our neighborhood. The average person in our zip code will live 20 years less than a person in the most privileged neighborhood in our city. Lack of education on wellness, nutrition, and the general realities of poverty all contribute to people living 20 years less than in other parts of the city. Now, I know you come from other parts of the US, but are you recognizing the difference between the US and other countries? According to the latest Social Progress Index, which studied 163 countries worldwide, the US is #1 in medical technology, but we are 97 in general access to quality health care. All deserve health care. On an average, people in our neighborhood will not live as long as others. People in the US will not live as long as others in 96 countries. Also on the Social Progress Index, the US lags in sharing political power equally among all citizens. We rank a shameful 100 out of 163 countries in discrimination against minorities. This mural relates to discrimination. It's called End Barrio Warfare. The gang violence is related to lack of opportunity for young people and the structure of intergenerational poverty. Of course, we also need to work for sensible gun laws. Almost anyone, young people, mentally ill people, can easily get a gun. In San Antonio, the deeds in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s would say things like, no one of Mexican or Negro descent can ever live in this neighborhood. That pushed Hispanics and Blacks into areas with smaller, more haphazard planning, small houses on the east side and here on the west side where we live. The excluded people experienced redlining. People of color were denied bank loans that others were getting in other areas. Gang violence is related to discrimination and poverty. The Blackboard in San Anto Cultural Arts Center, which sponsored these murals, gives the statistics from the last census. 15 to 19-year-olds are 24.4% of our neighborhood. Hispanics are 96.2% of our neighborhood. And unfortunately, only 53% of the people have had a chance to get a high school diploma. One of the first murals that San Anto sponsored was Educacion. Now, what do you see in the upper part of the mural and what do you see in the lower part? The indigenous people of this continent were architects and artists. They built pyramids and temples. They were wonderful city planners. When the Europeans arrived in our hemisphere, city living in what is now Mexico and Peru was healthier than city living in London or Paris. Now, was that included in the history books that you studied? Look at the lower part of the mural: gangs, guns, graves. With a heritage of greatness, why are young people in our neighborhood in gangs killing each other and filling the graves? Well, keep in mind, over 13% of San Antonio people live in poverty. And what is of even greater concern is that over 20% of the children are living in poverty. Lack of quality education for all is not unique to San Antonio. The US ranked as 97 among the 163 countries, 97 in providing quality education for all. Now, we were first in having universities, but we don't get education to all. San Anto Cultural Arts Center gathers people and invites them to tell their stories through murals, to share struggles, to share hopes, to share dreams. Creativity, compassion, and care for all are needed. Now look at that heart. The center is the heart and conscience of the barrio. Can we look into the mirror of our own hearts? Is there love and hope there? In this neighborhood, people have love. They wanted to create a mural as a memorial to an immigrant who was killed in 2018. Claudia Patricia Gomez Gonzalez was a 20-year-old Guatemalan who had gotten some education and she really wanted to work. In that part of Guatemala, there was poverty and violence. She could not get a job. She came north to seek refuge, to better herself. She was killed by a US Border Patrol agent. People here memorialize her as a symbol of all young people who want a chance to work, to be safe, to better themselves, to better their families. My students, whom you see, really identify with Claudia. We could learn from people of cultures that really celebrate the beauty of creation. Now, out of those 163 countries, the US ranks 119 in care of the environment. Can we recognize the beauty of the earth? Can we work together to protect the environment? We need to realize it is the womb in which we live. Failing to protect creation is suicide. Can we learn to value the other? Can we learn to value and protect creation? On the Social Progress Index since 2011, The US has been going backwards. We're doing worse in terms of meeting the basic needs of all, in improving quality of life. This mural is called Breaking the Cycle. The style is reminiscent of Picasso's Guernica, a mural in which he focused on the pain of war. The mural addresses all forms of abuse: substance abuse, abuse of the elderly, dating violence, family violence, child abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. Break the cycle. Violence is learned. And hopeful words: you can unlearn violence. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "A nation that continues to spend more money on the military than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death." Do you and I have the compassion and the courage to change the cycles of violence, of international violence, of national violence, of local violence? Do we have the courage to disarm our own hearts? Will we align our resources towards taking care of all of our cities? Will we focus on the common good? Do we, the people, have the moral courage to bring love where there is hate? Here in San Antonio, we have declared ourselves a city of compassion. Join us in being creative. Join us in being compassionate.